5 years ago, Nigeria witnessed one of the largest youth-led movements in its democratic history, the #EndSARS protests. Now, it began as a call to end police brutality, but soon evolved into a nationwide demand for justice, accountability, and reform. From Lagos to Abuja, Port Harcourt to Enugu, young Nigerians took to the streets, united under one voice: Soro Soke. I'll fast forward to 2025, and the question still lingers. Has anyone or anything truly changed? Despite promises of reform and disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, many young Nigerians say extrajudicial killings, extortion, and police abuse persist in new forms. Our families of victims continue to demand justice, with panels set up across states reporting limited or no implementation of their findings.
Also, it's a painful reflection, Darshan. I mean, according to reports from Amnesty International and Al Jazeera's recent feature, several victims' families still haven't received compensation, and no significant convictions have been made against officers, accused of abuse. Even the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry, which sat for over a year, found evidence of rights violations, including the controversial, of course, Lekki Tollgate shooting. Yet many of its recommendations remain unimplemented. Meanwhile, a generation once hopeful about reform now wrestles with disillusionment, rising youth unemployment, and political disengagement. So still, of course, the legacy of the protests lives on in art, in activism, and in the ongoing call for a better Nigeria.
Well, before our guest joins us, let's take a look at this report.
It's a regular Monday morning at the Lekki Tollgate. No placards, no chants, no protests. But this is no ordinary Monday. Today marks 5 years since the EndSARS protest, when security forces opened fire on demonstrators calling for an end to police brutality in Nigeria. The usual bustle at the toll plaza was accompanied by a heavier than normal presence of security personnel, a reminder of the event that once shook the nation. Some say the silence is deliberate, an attempt to make Nigerians forget that October 20th, 2020 ever happened.
Our hashtag today is "We will never forget." And we must. I mean, there's myself and my colleague Nanre, who's here, who's a scholar who has been talking about this whole notion of history and why we deliberately forget and don't amplify so people can move on and don't have a reference point. Imagine this is 5 years. A child that was born 5 years ago, by the time they turn 10 in 2030, what would their understanding of EndSARS be?
In previous years, some gatherings and memorial protests have been held to mark the day, but this year, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police led a show of force across the state to ensure there were no demonstrations.
Before now, we have made massive deployment to all the traditional locations in Lagos where protesters used to come out. And I'm going around to observe the situation of things. Like we have seen, there no single protester come out here. And our confidence building patrol, which we call the show of force exercise, is to ensure that the members of the public go about their lawful business and other responsibility to have fear and apprehension.
When asked if the police have experienced any meaningful reforms since the protests of 2020, the commissioner said the force has indeed witnessed improvement in manpower and equipment.
There have been a lot of series of reform initiatives that have been carried out by the Inspector General of Police, IGP Olukayode Adeolegbe-Tokun, PhD, MPM, that have been culminated in a lot of welfare improvement for all officers and men of the force. If you can see, even in the turnout of our uniform, you can see how bright we are than what we have in 2020. Even in terms of equipment and the motorized patrol team, you can equally see improvement in our equipment and in the deployment of logistics to protect life and property throughout Lagos State. And I say same throughout the country.
Shortly after the commissioner's departure, a mild drama ensued. Executive Director of Enough is Enough Nigeria, Yemi Adamoleku, attempted to lay flowers at the toll gate in remembrance of those who lost their lives. She was, however, stopped by security operatives who claimed that the gesture could attract unwanted attention.
And 5 years after, at the Lekki Tollgate here, the epicenter of the EndSARS protests in Lagos, there's peace and there's calm. The only thing we can notice is the heavy presence of police officers. However, there are questions that are yet to be answered. Have Nigerians forgotten about EndSARS? The struggles of the youths who were here for days go in vain? And of course, have their demands been met, or has it been swept under the rug? In Lagos for News Central, Bernard Akede.
Well, joining us this morning to unpack what 5 years of reflection has revealed is Francis Nwakpa. He is National Secretary of the Youth Rights Campaign and one of those who continue to advocate for police accountability and governance reform. Thank you for joining us, Francis.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Francis, 5 years on, many young Nigerians say little has changed. I mean, from your perspective, what's the most significant outcome, or will I say setback, of the hashtag EndSARS movement since 2020?
Yeah, thank you. This is the 5th year where we commemorate the loss of life. Not just that, but also to chronicle some of the events, that took place that led to the young people pouring on the streets, where young people over the years continue to clamor to end a rogue police unit that had an absolute power to kill, to detain, rape, rob people of their properties, and so many other crimes, being committed by this rogue unit called SARS. And all of this clamor did not just, of course, the ruling elites were aware of all of this clamor, and so they said in 2016 that they are going to disband SARS. In 2017, 2018, and they went on until the events that took place, in Delta State, where a young artist was killed by this same rogue unit, and the young people decided to take to the streets and say enough is enough. That we are going to, end. We are going to push, for this SARS, this particular unit to be disbanded. However, beyond that, was the fact that it was not just about SARS. It was not just about SARS. It was also about the living condition of young people, where they no longer feel safe in their own country. They can't, they have no access to, to justice, in their own country. And so the young people decided to pour on the streets. And 5 years after, despite the fact that the police and the state said they disbanded SARS, police brutality has continued unabated, and this demand for justice, is going to continue until the young people, feel that, justice has been served.
Francis, you talked about, how it took time for the SARS to be disbanded, and the government promised police reform, and also to set up judicial panels across several states as well. So why has there been so little visible progress in implementing the recommendations? Yes,
the truth is, the setting up of a panel was not intended to unravel what caused, the young people to be on the street in the first place. The intention of the Lagos state government and the Buhari administration back then, setting up this panel, was to distract the young people, was to be a means of distraction. And that's why you see that all of the states where this panel was set up, nothing happened, except for Lagos state, where we were on their neck, ensuring that the genuine cry, of the young people is not being swept under the carpet. And this gave birth to what the ruling of that panel, which established that young people were actually killed, not just at the Lekki toll gate, but across Lagos state. Hundreds of persons were killed, which they cannot be accounted for. And so, because the ruling elites never genuinely set up this panel to unravel, what actually happened and to punish those who are responsible for it. And that's the more reason why you cannot find, justice cannot be served. It was not genuinely intended to unravel what happened. All of the guys who participated, who were SARS, as far back as then, have been reintegrated into the system. They are now serving in various other units, within the police. You have Jason Warford in Anambra State. It was during the protest that we got to know that he was serving in the government house, under Obiano, there. This is a guy who carried out several massacres, of young people in Okuzo SARS, headquarters. So it wasn't genuinely intended, to unravel what happened and to punish those responsible for it. But it was just about causing distraction, believing that once they set up that panel, young people will be distracted and they just sweep everything under the carpet.
Now, Francis, we've seen cases where victims of families still struggle to be heard or even compensated. What does this say about the justice systems in Nigeria and also the credibility and the empathy for ordinary Nigerians?
It's pathetic. It's not just about those who have not been compensated. But I can categorically tell you right now that there are young people after the EndSARS who were still being tailed to their houses, to their offices, just because they were speaking up as victims of EndSARS. Some of them, in fact, one of them was attacked somewhere around in Nigeria. He was macheted, he was beaten, that she should stop talking, she should stop speaking up. In fact, one of them, as I speak to you, has relocated out of Lagos State because he was on constant attack by the Maroko policemen. I'm speaking this authoritatively because we were part of all of this movement, and we have the contact of all of these victims of EndSARS, EndSARS. Those that were shot, those that were amputated, those that were, that died. We are in connection, we are in contact with their family. And so I'm speaking authoritatively because this has continued. It's not just about those that we are not compensated, but those that are alive that are being threatened to stop speaking. And so we live in a country where impunity continues to thrive, where the judicial process, has been hijacked, and in fact, as of today, there is a coup in Nigerian democracy because all of the things we see happening today, not just about the EndSARS, they are alien to democratic practices. And so what we have today is a coup against the democracy of Nigeria. The judiciary have been hijacked. All of the processes that are supposed to be democratic have been hijacked by certain elements within the system to make sure that the arm twists, the law and judicial pronouncement to favor of those who control power today.
All right, Francis, you did say that, we're even despite the disbandment of SARS, we're still seeing extrajudicial killings. And it seems that, the problems in the beginning that started this whole EndSARS protest has not abated. And a recurring concern also is that new police units often replicate the same abuses that SARS was accused of. So why do you think that systemic reform has been so difficult to achieve despite public outrage?
Thank you. It is so to show to everybody that under a system like this, a capitalist system where the structure, the security apparatus are designed to protect that capitalist structure, that such a system, you cannot have a reform under such a system. What reform do you want to have that would stop the IG of police from brutalizing protesters? There's no reform because the IG of police is answerable to the president. And the president is operating under a system that is designed to benefit just a few individuals. And so there is no way, there is no reform you want to do that would bring about changes within the police. And so it is until such a structure, such a system is upon through a revolution, a working people's revolution, that you can have a genuine reform within the police system. Or else, what we will continue to have is that you're going to have service chiefs removed, just like you have recently, and they bring in another person, and it continues because that the system is designed to protect that structure. You have Muyiwa removed as police PRO. You have Benjamin Hundeyin brought in. You see the same Benjamin Hundeyin speaking, what should not be had, justifying abuse of police power, justifying abuse of court order, and so that is how it's going to be, because they are designed to protect the capitalist structure, which is designed to enrich and give power to a few individuals.
Now, Mr. Francis, when we talk about, when we look back at hashtag EndSARS protests, one thing that a lot of people can easily remember is the Lekki Tollgate incident. Looking back right now, do you believe the Lekki Tollgate incident was a turning point that changed how Nigerians view state power and accountability?
Yes. What happened in Lekki Tollgate is not just about what happened in Tollgate. Because what happened, we must not forget that what happened in Lekki Tollgate could have been swept under the carpet and nothing would have been done. But let's have a throwback as to how they began to expose themselves. The system began to expose themselves. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State, came under interrogation, I will call it interrogation, by Becky Anderson of CNN, and he began to reveal, when he came under questioning, that he was the one that invited the military. And during the panel sitting, the general that was invited to come and give account to testify said the governor invited them, and they began to expose themselves. Now, if the panel had not given such a ruling, we won't be talking about what happened in Lekki Tollgate, because up till today, what happened in Lekki Tollgate is still in denial. The system, the government is still in denial. So we won't be talking about what happened in Lekki Tollgate if, number one, the role the Nigerian media played in unraveling the truth, not just in Nigerian media, but international media, because CNN did a documentary of how the military left their barrack and advanced towards the toll gate and started shooting, because they came to tell us that what DJ Twitch did, the video, the live video she did, was a lie. And so you see how all of these actions, both the media, both the young people, and the panel, and activists and civil society organization helped ensuring that what happened in Lekki Tollgate was not swept under the carpet. And the world, has kept on, pushing that until justice is done,
But Francis, speaking about it not being swept under the carpet, some quarters have actually argued that the EndSARS protest lacked structure and leadership, which is the reason why, it was easy for government to dismiss its demands. How do you respond to that?
Well, the EndSARS protest, just like every other, protest, we have been part of, has its own weaknesses. But the weaknesses are for us to learn from. The government also learned from it, from the EndSARS. And so the weakness is one of it, of course, is the fact that the young people, felt that there was no need for leadership, during the protest, which people like us kicked against. But the truth is that it's about what that heroic movement was able to achieve. That heroic movement was able to raise up young layers of activists in Nigeria. Because that was what transcended into what happened in the 2023 election, general election, where young people came out massively to reject the APC government, whether the person they went, whether the party they went for, or whoever they went for was correct. That's not the case now. But the fact that the young people came out massively and rejected, the current administration, and the truth is, in Lagos State, the stronghold of the APC, President Tinubu lost election in that place. That is an effect of the EndSARS protest, So the achievement of the EndSARS is what we should focus on, and those are the part of the achievement. And yet the consciousness of the young people, to begin to ask for their demand. As of today, young people can see police committing certain crimes, stopping people, abusing people, and bring out their phone and continue and record such incident. In the past, you can't do that. The SARS will arrest you and put a gun, in your hands and say you are an armed robber. But today, most of the things that have been exposed today as a result of the achievement of the EndSARS protest. Today, nobody is collecting toll at the Lekki toll gate. Those are part of the achievement of the EndSARS protest. So we will rather focus on some of the achievement of the EndSARS protest than the weakness on some of the, we have learned from, some of the mistakes that we have done. And so moving forward, we'll continue to build on some of what we said, some of those strategies.
Thank you so much, Francis Nwakpa, for joining us and sharing those reflections. 5 years after #EndSARS, the memories remain raw, but so does the hope that Nigeria can still learn, reform, and heal from it. The struggle for justice and accountability continues, and as history shows, the youth have never stopped speaking truth to power. So I guess there's some sort of hope in all of this. Well, thank you so much once again, Francis Nwakpa, for joining us on the show.